Welcome, everybody, to the Roost Podcast. I am your host, Sean Pitcher. Today's guest we have on is Sniper Jones, who is a content creator. Super excited to have him on just because I feel social media, content, influencers, this is kind of the new age of getting information and education out. And also another opportunity that I think is going to be proposed to a lot of athletes coming through, especially with a lot of these NIL deals. But Sniper, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate you for having me. You know what I'm saying? We talked about it. Now we doing it, bro. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Put it into fruition. So, like I start with everybody, can you tell the audience what is your roots?
My roots, Cleveland roots for sure. Midwest raised, right? Pretty much a blue collar type neighborhood, blue collar type town. That grit and grind mentality was basically installed in me since a kid, right? Came up playing ball. Didn't really do too much content creation at first. I actually didn't pick up a camera until I was 23. So I had no idea about cameras or editing or anything. It was really all basketball. And that kind of laid the foundation to what hard work meant. And then I just applied those lessons to things that, I learned later on. Shout out to my parents for setting a good example of just going an extra mile. But that's pretty much my roots, man. Cleveland, Ohio.
I know when I saw you said Cleveland, Ohio, I have another colleague that I worked with at the last place
Okay.
was that Marcus Hawkins, who also I had on the podcast too. And he kind of said the same exact thing. It's a blue collar town.
Yep.
Like you're gonna have to go to work, you're gonna have to fight for your opportunities. They're not gonna come on your doorstep, but if you get the job done, you'll be able to get out and figure it out eventually.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say if you make it in this town, you'll make it anywhere. I truly do believe if you can make it from a place that really has very limited resources and opportunities, it really speaks volumes to like the type of character you are. It's the reason why when you say I'm from Cleveland, the first thing people say is, "Wow, I never heard of that before," because not too many people actually be able to even have a platform to talk about it and put it on the map. So I take pride in that for sure.
Yeah, they just think about all those huge cities that are prominent, the Atlantas, the New
For
York City,
sure.
the Los Angeles, and if there's nothing spectacular in their town, like I come from a really small town called Endicott, New York. Nobody knows where that is as well. I have to typically tell them like I'm from Syracuse or like an hour from Syracuse, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I know where that is typically.
Right. Right.
Now you mentioned you were a basketball player, so did you do that all the way from like middle school, high school, into college? Like how long did you play basketball for?
Basketball was weird too because I was just outside playing with my friends every day, and then I didn't actually start playing what you would call organized basketball until like middle school. I used to walk home from school with my friend Lorenzo all the time. My neighborhood wasn't the safest, so we would walk together. There's one day I'm on a bus by myself, and I'm like, "Where my boy at?" So I get off the bus, I'm looking for him, and I walk past a gym. I hear a ball, and this dude is at tryouts. And I'm just like, "Man, we supposed to be going home. Like, what's going on?" He's like, "I'm trying out for the team." So I kid you not, my first basketball tryout, 7th grade, jeans, shorts, a polo collar T-shirt, and I made the basketball team. I've been playing, but I didn't have like the organized, actual construction of basketball. So I would say 7th grade is when I actually started playing organized, but I was always outside. I used to shoot in a crate in my neighborhood, pinned on a pole, like old school, bro.
That's real old school. I heard a crate
Yeah.
in a minute.
We cut the milk crate out, you know what I'm saying? We put it on like one of those nice light poles, get it up to a decent height, and I'm out there shooting jumpers with the older kids since I was a youngin'.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make it to a crate, I think make it to a regular hoop is a whole easier story.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, one of the big things, obviously, you said you started when we talked offline was in 2017, you really started getting into creating content, social
Yep.
media, being an influencer. Can you kind of talk about how does somebody get into that? How does somebody even start, let's say, a job or profession, like specifically in that type of realm?
Well, I think for me, the reason why I got into it was 2016. Unfortunately, had a really bad foot, broke my foot, and that kind of put me in a place where I couldn't walk for about 11 months. So,
Mm.
very tough time for me. 2016, I never forget that year. Unfortunately, I dropped out of school that year, and I just had a lot of free time on my hands while I was in crutches for about 9 months, physical therapy for about 2. So during that time, I was just watching a lot of content on YouTube, right? I had all this time on my hands. I wasn't working or anything like that. And I was like, yo, I believe I can possibly do something like this. Now, it was kind of an abnormal thought because I never owned a camera or a laptop. I never thought about making videos. But I was like, hey, I'm going to just get it a shot. Come 2017, after I get healthy and I'm back walking again, um, I just started uploading videos. Sneakers was what I chose to do because I realized, like, hey, I'm gonna do something that'll be so easy to translate to. I was always a sneakerhead since I was able to get my first dollar, my own dollar, right? I remember when I was in school, I got my college refund check. My mom almost killed me. I blew every single dollar on shoes, everything. I didn't save none of it. And I just thought I'm gonna buy the sneaker regardless, whether I'm recording or not. Let's just see what happens if I record it. And that's when I slowly started putting it out. And then over time, it kind of manifested into a job. But to be honest, it wasn't my. You got to remember, 2017, YouTube wasn't what it is now, right? This is 6 years ago, so a lot's changed in 6 years. You know, more people watch YouTube now than television. That wasn't the case back then. Mr. Beast was not Mr. Beast back then, right? So YouTube wasn't at a place where kids were looking up to YouTubers, and it was looked at as a prominent thing. You know, I was kind of looked at as an oddball for going about it that route. So it became a job. It wasn't really sought out to be a job.
It's funny that you mentioned that about the shoes. I had a couple of friends in high school. One had his whole entire closet filled with shoes.
Yeah.
I had another couple guys I lived with in the dorms when I was an undergrad, and his whole underneath his bed was filled with shoes. So I mean, literally anytime that we went out or anytime that we did something, every piece of clothing he had, like he had a pair of shoes and had it categorized like in
Got
a
to,
certain way.
man.
Like he goes, "Oh, I'm wearing this fit. Like I'm gonna wear these shoes, and
Yeah.
we're doing this event. I'm gonna do this," and like had it down pat to like absolutely anything you needed, anything you want, he had it.
I owe my basketball trainer, FA, who was my trainer, best friend, big brother figure, role model. He was older than me. He was my trainer, but I remember coming to his house one time and he had a 2-bedroom apartment, and the other bedroom was just for sneakers. I never seen nothing like it. I'm talking about closet was full of nothing but Air Jordans, pennies, Air Maxes, you name it, Air Bacons. I never seen nothing like it. Every color Air Force One. This is like 2010, right? And I'm just like, what is this, right? And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I couldn't even afford it at the time, right? I was in high school, and he would just pick me up to go to these Jordan releases where hundreds of people are standing outside, and I was just staying with him, even though I'm not even getting the shoe. It was just like being a part of
Experience.
that time, and the experience was just worth me doing that. And I truly believe if I didn't met, if it wasn't for meeting him, I don't think I would even have that urge in the satisfactory of just loving sneakers. So I always make sure when I see him and I talk to him, because I still talk to him all the time, I tell him, hey, I'd probably be working at Wendy's if it wasn't for you, man. For real. Or
I,
something.
I mean, that's what I always say too. Like, whoever comes up on you and like wants to have a conversation, like you never know what that conversation is going to lead to.
Yeah.
You never know how.
Look at the conversation I had with you, right?
Exactly right. Like, yeah. What was it? Last week was it right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Snipe comes into the. I was left, and Snipe comes in. He's like, "Hey, I've been trying to look for the dietitian for days. Like, do you know where he's at?" Well, I'm like, "I'm the dietitian." And then
Perfect.
literally that day, we sat down, we had a conversation, we worked on his nutrition, and then again, within less than a week, right now,
Yep.
like he just feels like a whole different person. So
Sure.
whoever wants to start a conversation with you, no matter who it is, give them 5-10 minutes to feel them out and see where that conversation is going to go, because you never know what can end up happening after that. Okay, whether it's a plus, whether it's a minus, whether it's now it's a new person that's going to add another tool or skill to
Yep.
what you already do, like it's always worth taking the time. Where a lot of times people just act or think they're too busy. You're never too busy. Like there's a lot of time in the day. Just take a couple minutes or find another time to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, you never know what that conversation can lead to. And I feel like the possibilities is worth at least, just hearing somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And it was funny what you're saying about YouTube. I mean, I feel like cable is like becoming obsolete. It's all streaming, it's all social media,
Yeah.
and who knows how it's going to transform kind of after that. It's just wild to think about. We were watching, everyone had cable, and I was like, well, nobody has cable, and then
Yep.
everyone's, well, are you a Netflix person or a YouTube person? Like what
Yeah.
stream or what place are you kind of choosing to get most of your content from?
Man, me, it's very weird, right? A lot of the content I'm consuming, I'm a big gamer, man. I love playing video games like Apex Legends and things like that. It's almost like, I don't know, man. I eat, breathe, and drink sneakers. So I
Mhm.
don't really watch content about it, because it's like sometimes you need a break from reality and you need to just like take a step back and look at other things. So the content that I pretty much consume, if it's not audiobooks that I listen to about every day, that's self-help or just like biographies from like Will Smith or Kevin Hart, Charlamagne and God, people I respect in their categories. It's a lot of video game content for sure. Like it's a lot of. I'm gonna tell you something. If I could, I don't know if this is true or not, but if I could do it over again, I think I would have gave it a shot in the video game content creating world, man, because that world and that niche will forever be. I mean, look at video games now. Like kids can get scholarships now for esports.
Esports.
You know what I'm saying? It's like these kids. It's a guy named Ninja. I'm pretty sure you heard of, maybe you haven't, but he was like one of the biggest guys in the world streaming at the time. He was playing Fortnite, and he has his own sneaker with Adidas with several different models. And it's like you don't even have to go to the league anymore, man. You can just be good at this video game, and a brand can see value in you now, and you can get your own sneaker from being good at a video game. So it's so crazy how esports has taken over to a place where rappers, entertainers are on Twitch now playing video games. I'm talking about rappers that have platinum records, Grammys, are making more money on Twitch than they are in music, man. It's insane. And all they're doing is playing video games and keeping their audience entertained. So I watch and consume a lot of video game content.
Yeah, no, I was talking to several dietitians, and now like obviously esports is becoming part of college athletics in some spaces. And it's like, well, how, you're like, I've never worked with this like population group before. It's like, how do I fuel those esports? But then when you think about it, like, okay, this person has to sit there, really focus for multiple hours, really be on top of his game, because obviously if you're playing for money, if you're playing for points, you're playing for a team, like all that's going to count. So if you can't stay focused and locked in during that time, right, that comes back to nutrition. Are you hydrating? Yep. Are you eating? Are you eating foods that are going to mentally stimulate you so you can focus and concentrate the task you have? And like even strength and conditioning, right? Like you can't sit there for 4 to 8 hours hunched over like this, because guess what? You're going to be stiff. You're going to start having aches and pains. Like it's going to start causing some dysfunction. So like when I was able to step back and like listen to them like talk about that, I was like, oh wow, like that's a whole different thought process that I never had before.
Is that challenging? Like, do you look at that as like something that, because you've been doing this, like you said, for about 12 years, right? 12, 13 years?
About 8 years.
Okay, 8 years. I'm sorry. So it's like you've worked on a lot of different levels, right? You've worked with a lot of different athletes, and it's like, do you look at something like esports as, wow, okay, I pretty much know the runaround with basketball players or football players. This is a new challenge for me. Let me see how I can implement what I know and like give that knowledge to this guy and see if it works.
I think it's like what I do with you, right? You got to figure out their schedule, routine, sport, activity. Like what is it that they do, and how can I implement myself into their specific environment, right? So if I know this person's a gamer and they game for 8 to 10 hours a day, right? Okay, well, when do you stop gaming? When do you eat your meals? Do you have a mini fridge up by your game system? Like, do you have fluids up by your game system? Like, is someone bringing your meals, or do you have to stop and then like have to go get your stuff or make your stuff or order your stuff? Like, that's kind of like the outside of the box thinking you have to look at, because, like we spoke about too, no one given person or no one given athlete is going to be exactly the same. So you've got to figure out how you can fit yourself in and provide those tools. Now, the other thing is obviously the person willing to accept those tools as well, because if you've been doing something for 18 to 25 years of your life and that's all that you know, and then a new person's coming into your environment and trying to change those things, are you going to be able to open your ears and listen and be able to want to switch those things up? Or you're going to say, nah, I'm just going to keep doing the things that I do because, let's say in this case, I'm a good gamer. Well, guess what? You being a good gamer is only going to take you so far. If you're not using the other tools and professionals and practitioners around you, right? Maybe your gaming in this sense could be at another level, but you don't know because you're not willing to accept help from somebody.
Yeah.
And that makes the difference between someone who's a growth mindset and then obviously a closed mindset. And those closed mindset individuals can take a long time, or some you may never be able to change. It just depends on where you can get and the person that's working with them and how you can connect with them.
Absolutely.
And I like what you said about content there too. I mean, I feel like content's becoming currency, right? Like it's almost, hey, here's my content, and then I'm going to exchange this for X amount of dollars or X amount of monetization. So could you kind of go into that? Like, how does that space look like now? Like, I know people, and I'm sure you can probably say this yourself, like people's jobs is just social media, and with the monetization and the sponsorships that you can do now, like that can be your full-time job without having to have like, this is a side gig and do a full-time job.
Yeah, so it's been my full-time job for years now, and I would say the landscape changes, and it's also going to it's also going to continue to change. So you have to be in tune with what's happening, because just like any other thing that's trendy, being a content creator now is trendy. It's like if you got 5,000 followers, I'm a content creator, So it's like these things where it's like, and that's fine, There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just the reality that we in. And it's also like competition exists at one place. It was a place where being a content creator was few and far in between, and it gets more and more popular to the point where everybody create reels and makes digital content some way somehow. So they all align themselves in the space. What I would say is, for people who trying to get their foot in the door just for a little bit of information that could help, find a niche that you like, and that's important because you have to like what you do. And the reason why I say that is because doing content and making it a job will not be easy. It'll be very challenging. I forget the number exactly, but it's over 1 million videos gets uploaded a minute on YouTube. That is the type of competition that happens on this app. And you have to understand, in order to get substantial growth, no matter the skill or talent you have, majority of the people, unless it's lightning in a bottle, just like you, right? When you're working guys out, it'll take time to see the results. The reason I say like what you do is because if you like what you do, you'll be a lot more willing to go through the grueling process of getting the results, because you actually are having fun and you're doing something that you enjoy. However, if you see a trend and it's look like it's making money or look like it's doing well and you decide to hop in that, unfortunately, the road to get where you want to be will be so grueling because you hate what you're doing. I really highly doubt you see it all the way through. And that's why we know probably 20 friends with YouTube channels with 2 videos and it just stopped, because they obviously know that in order to get to a place where you're making substantial money to where you can pay for your living expenses, it is challenging. It takes a while, man. So just do what you love, be consistent, and do something that even when months will get slow and growth is very slow, man. At the end of the day, you fall back on, I'm gonna upload tomorrow, man. I love what I do, and I think that'll definitely help people go a lot further.
I know someone I had talked to, and I'm getting into this kind of space now, and obviously it's a very slow growth, as you said, because it's so saturated. There's so many people doing it. So like you said, find a niche. Like with this podcast, right? There's a few sports nutrition podcasts out there. So it's like, what am I going to do differently that's going to stand myself apart to have other practitioners or other people want to come to this podcast to listen to my content because it's going to have a benefit on them.
Yep.
And am I posting something like every day? Like that's what people don't understand. Like you just said, that want to get into this. Like I know some people are probably posting multiple times a day because in your case, you could probably attest to that. It was like I'm focusing on one time a day on top of all the other stuff I'm doing my job. And then it's like there's the uploading, there's the editing, there's the tagging, there's all that type of stuff. And it's like, you could post 3 or 4 videos and all of a sudden, like here's 1 or 2 hours, you're like, oh shit, like that took a really long time to put all that together.
It does, man. It does. It's definitely especially if I was doing YouTube. I started when I was 23, so at the time obviously I was working a job. I had a 12-hour job. I would work 12-hour shifts and I would still be able to get a video up a day. Definitely wasn't easy, came with a lot of sacrifice, and I had to make some decisions. But now that I can look back on it, I can say it was tough, but I can also see, more importantly, how challenging that can be for somebody who just don't love what they were doing. And fortunate enough for me, like I said, I picked something that I was passionate about and I was able to see it through. So
yeah, because if you don't love it, you're gonna get burnt out. And if you get burnt out and then you don't have a plan B, a plan C, then it's like, all right, I got a family. Like, how am I gonna take care of myself? How am I gonna take care of my family? So it's like, if you're gonna decide on this, like you need to like enroot yourself in it and like commit to it, because you never know like if there's going to be another opportunity that's going to come around the corner, or how fast you can make income that's going to be, let's say, similar to this situation.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, man. It's tough, but like I said, you love what you do, man. It gets easier. I'll say it that way.
So can you kind of explain or like run us through an example of like your process, or like a process that goes into like creating content? Like you could give us an example of a video or something that you create, just to kind of give people an idea of like, what does it look like from, let's say, I know we talked, let's say 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 o'clock. Like what is a start to finish content creation even look like?
Yeah, so pretty much, man, I got this book downstairs that I like to write in because I like to, I've been reading books like Atomic Habit and The Compound Effect, which is really just about consistency and things of that nature. But however, I get up early. I like to get up early around like 7. Reason being is because I like to write down exactly what I want to do throughout the day. I try. This is very important for a lot of creators. I think the toughest thing to do is come up with a new idea or a new piece of content that you can make every day. It's only so much to do under the sun. What I try to do is I'll just relax, maybe play some music, be really calm, be free, and I'll set a timer for just 30 minutes each day. And 30 minutes might not seem like a long time, but if you challenge yourself to think of 3 ideas in 30 minutes that you can do tomorrow every day, what you'll get 7 days a week is 21 ideas, right? 30 minutes a day, you think of 3 ideas. That's a bad, like, if you can think of 3 ideas in 30 minutes, it's kind of like a bad 30 minutes. I've had some 30 minutes, bro, where I think of 10, right? Especially when you get into a consistent habit of doing it. Yeah. Now you make a grueling job seamless and easy. You listen to your favorite song, you're thinking of 3 ideas a day. And worst case scenario is, if you can only think of 1 a day, you still got 7 a week, right? So it's like still great, but 30 minutes, you'd be able to think of more than 1 idea. So that's a process that I know really helps me. I think of 3 videos. I think of videos for 30 minutes a day, try to get 3. And then some of them aren't always good, right? So if you get 21 in the week, let's say 11 of them bad, right? You still got 10, you know what I'm saying? So you still got more than you would have just spitballing ideas when you actually set time aside to think about it. I have a videographer. I have 2, one named Jeremy, one named Jalen. I hit these guys up and they also work too. So I see what their setups are, what they got going on. And I try to make content on what's happening, what's trending, right? If, let's say, something, people love food content. If McDonald's come out with, if Burger King come out with a Spider-Man Whopper, and the whole world is talking about it, all right, cool, let's pick it up and let's try it out, right? Doing videos on trending topics will always do well because it's search bar heavy, it's talked about. Unfortunately, for people who do content, they don't always think about what are people looking for. They just make what they think is cool. And that might be fine, but reality is if you want the results, you have to play the game and then you can kind of change the game. You got to play it first though, right? So if the movie John Wick comes out and it's a smash hit, cool. I know that movie is getting all types of views. I know people are looking that up on YouTube. I'm going to do a video training like John Wick. I'm going to go buy a suit. I'm going to go to an airsoft place. I'm going to act like I'm John Wick. The video probably going to do good. It's the highest selling movie in the country right now. So like the odds of somebody searching John Wick goes up 1,000%, which makes your chances. You're just trying to help your chances at the end of the day, because like I said, competition exists. If you can do anything to help the chances of being seen, I feel like you won that day. And I think that's why it's important to post every day, not because just consistency. You also got to play the odds, right? If you post a video every day, the chances of you being seen goes up like 30%. If you post once a week, the chances of you being seen goes down like 80. So it's like you're just playing the odds, and just knowing those things kind of help.
And just have to be okay with, all right, one day, like, let's say you're starting out, like I get 2,000, 3,000 views. That's cool. Maybe the next day you get like 200 views. It's like, all right, well, looking at that specific video or whatever you put out that day, well, like, was it the content? Was it the time I posted it? Was it, this is just no one's looking at it during this specific day because it's a holiday. Like all those little details matter. And I know we chatted about this a little bit. When you can kind of like section that down a little bit and figure out for you and when you post and what content works for you, and those parameters are going to be the best ones to put stuff out, that's when you can start kind of getting on a roll and figuring out what's your kind of hot spot during the day. Because I know you said, right, like, oh, hey, when kids are out of school and you post during X time, you might have a better chance because now they're having to not worry about school, sports, all this stuff. They're going to probably focus on their phone and focus on their social media. So you're probably going to have a better chance during this time.
Yep. And like I said, that's just, is it scientifically a fact? No. But, once you know your audience and you look at your analytics and you see who's watching, now it's your job to understand, like, okay, cool. What does a basic teen or adult date look like? When would they have the free time? Well, maybe later in the afternoon when they just relaxing, we're probably looking for something on YouTube to watch. Here go this new video by Snipe. And I think it just higher my chances of posting midday when they're at work or just doing other things that, they got to do. So
Yeah, they're busy. They're not going to have time. And
Yeah,
I think someone told me it's like what some of these videos, like you have what, a good 24 to 48 hours, and then and it becomes almost like it's the past. So
yeah,
like unless people actually go to your spot, subscribe, actually go
yeah.
through your content, look through stuff, like you might have a very small window for people to look at your reel, for example. So if you don't take advantage of that short period of time, well, good luck. Like you may not get the views that you want.
And I do want to say this too, because it's very important, especially on apps like Instagram and TikTok. It's very important that people understand that, like, don't be too hard on yourself because of the views. Now, and I'm saying this not to be, not to say it's like some minimalistic information. It's very important people understand how algorithmic apps and websites work. If you go look on your last post on Instagram, no matter how many followers you got, right? You might have 10,000 followers. But if you actually look at the analytics and see how many impressions you got, you'll be surprised. You probably only got 700 impressions. So what does that mean? That means that even though you have 10,000 followers, Instagram is only giving this image to about 700 people. So when you have 200 likes on a photo, it's not because your content is bad. It's because the algorithm didn't even give you a fair opportunity to even be seen by majority of your fan base. So many people get depressed, they get angry, and they get into this space where they want to quit because they don't think they're doing well. When the reality is, you didn't even get a fair shot from the beginning. You got 10,000 followers, yeah, but less than 90% of the people who follow you even got a chance to see it. So the likes isn't a result of the talent. It's a result of the algorithm, which you have no control over. And that's a very frustrating thing to be a part of when you're creating content in a space where I pay my bills based off how well my videos do. And unfortunately, I can put every time and dollar amount I can into thumbnails and video ideas. But once I press upload, everything else that is out of my hands.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's very important for people to understand that views does not reflect talent or skill set. It is an algorithmic metric that pushes out videos based on compound knowledge and facts, and it spits it out, bro. So just keep going and don't get too down on yourself.
It's funny because that sounds like life.
Yeah,
That's basically what life
yeah,
is like. You could be there's a million different very talented individuals out here. My saying is it's not always if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen and how much time are you going to put in and when is someone going to find you,
yep,
right? If and I like a lot of the things that you're saying because I can tell like just your mindset and how you think about stuff is forward thinking, motivated. Like I'm not going to let all this negativity, which there's a ton of negativity out in
right,
the social spaces. I'm going to be able to disassociate myself. Like this is what I know what I'm producing, the quality, the level, the people that I'm being able to reach. Like, and that's what I'm going to keep striving for. Because if you
yep.
keep letting all the negativity get you, then yeah, at the end of the day, it's going to be really challenging for you to even continue to really do anything. Because, like you said, you're going to be stressed, frustrated, depressed, and then it's like now your ability to come up with all these different ideas, express yourself, push out the content you want, you're going to be limited because you're worried about those one or two things or those one or two comments. It's like you can't, like you said, you can't control it.
I
It is
mean,
what it is.
and that's why sports I think plays such a pivotal role after sports, right? Because you learn from a young age. Like I was a shooter. As my name's Sniper Jones. I was one of the best shooters in the state. You know, I might have some days where I miss shots, but I was taught from a young age next shot mentality, bro. If you airball, when you catch that ball, you got to believe it's going in. And I just take that same lesson to life, right? If a video does bad, I don't even remember. I don't even give a damn. Like, what's the next one?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that mentality, but I would say if that's you, if you're watching this, that's some character building. I think you should definitely look into just trying to challenge yourself and do because there will be moments. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a robot, right? Sometimes some days are better than others, but
Yeah.
you have to understand, bro, like it's next play, next up mentality, because it's not really in your control, man. You can't handle what's out of your control. You know, you can only do what you can do.
I'll tell them all the time, like, hey, you didn't get breakfast. Okay, well, tomorrow you're gonna eat breakfast. Hey, you didn't choose the best choices for dinner.
Yep.
Okay, how are you gonna have a higher quality PM snack? How are you gonna make a higher quality choice the next day? Like what you just did, it happened.
Yeah.
Like you can't turn back the time. Like the past is now the past. It's whatever.
Yep.
But talking specifically about athletes, I wanted to ask you, where do you think now with content creation and social media, how do you think that's now playing into NIL, name, image, likeliness, or just athletes in general kind of getting into this space with the social media space? Can you kind of give us
I,
like
I,
a quick rundown on that?
absolutely. I'll give you one bigger, man. I had the opportunity to create content and to work with an amazing content creator by the name of Destroying. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a football content creator. Man, millions of followers, great guy. So I was able to see, right? I'm 28 now. So I was born in 94. I grew up where kids wanted to be football players and basketball players. It was kind of normal. Now I'll talk to these kids with Destroying, and they're like, I'm like, yo, you want to go to the league? Nah, I want to be a YouTuber like Destroying. It's like, so you don't want to go to the NFL. You want to make football content, right? Because it's like, now I don't want to go to the NFL. But like, why would I go to the NFL when I can just like make football content on YouTube? Like, that wasn't even a thought for us, right? So it's like they don't want to be Lamar Jackson. They want to be Destroying. And I think that just shows a little bit of insight on what today's kids are looking at. So when it comes down to like the question you asked, like NIL, name, image, and likeness, I think it's even bigger, man. I think these kids are looking at content creators and saying, yo, like the league isn't the end goal. Like I can just go on YouTube and go to LA Fitness and just bust dudes up and I can make a lot of money. So it's actually tipping the scale a little bit. And I think we will see a lot of people gravitate towards that. And even basketball players like Giannis' brother Alex, he has a YouTube channel. You seeing a lot. You seeing a lot of NBA players, current and old, getting into media, whether it's podcasting or some form of digital content. It's definitely tipping the scales quickly, and I'm kind of surprised by the impact, honestly.
And especially when individuals, especially if they then make a name for themselves, right? Like, let's say you take Peyton Manning's son, like, didn't even get out of high school and he started making millions of dollars, like, just because of his name. So,
Yeah,
let's say even you have athletes that go to the league and play for, I don't know, 2 to 4 years,
yeah,
right? You still can say, like, I went to the league and I played 2 to 4 years and utilize that, like, in your content and what you're putting out.
yep,
And if you already have somewhat of a following just from that little bit of time in athletics, that's already going to kind of like boost you to a certain extent to kind of get started because you already have a certain base that you're going to be able to move along with.
100%, 100%, man.
So, to kind of end things out, because we're almost at the end here, what are maybe like your top 3 tips for athletes that are going to be possibly getting into this situation where it's not obviously going away anytime soon, to possibly obviously capitalize on these newer opportunities that are happening now in 2023, 2024 with social media content creation?
Yeah. So, my advice would just to be understand, like, man, Instagram, TikTok is almost like a digital business card at this point in time, man. Right? You meet somebody, whether they work for a brand or whether they are in a position to be able to work with you in any type of way. First thing they're going to ask for is your socials. Just like how back in the day you hand out a business card, you give somebody your IG, and that should be a clear example of who you are, what you do, and what you could bring. And if it's not that way, you need to change it, because as much as you want it to be personal, and there's nothing wrong with that, I feel like if this is what you want to do, if you want to go the route of people to be able to see your value through social media, you have to show it, right? It's no purpose of you being this great guy with so much to offer and you're not letting that be seen. I think it makes you less desirable. So if you can put it between your legs twice, even though you'll never do it in the game, do it, bro. Do it, because these brands see that. They see the comments, they see the views, they see value. If you could be one of those guys that, I know guys that play overseas ball and make $40,000-$50,000 a year, but they come back home, make YouTube content, and make double that. So it's like there is a place for all the young athletes who want to get into NIL deals, and a large group of that has to be. I mean, if you look at who's getting these big bags, I mean, Mikey Williams signed a seven-figure deal in high school, bro. He's not even in college yet, and he signed that I think last year. And it's like, it's obvious because he has millions of followers from just him being captivative and showing the world what he can do on the internet. You have to be able to show him and be able to bundle that correctly. Perception is reality, right? So you should the way you should handle yourself on social media goes hand in hand. No John Morant situations, right? You have to be professional. Nobody's going to invest in somebody who's like a liability. So all those things matter. What you post in your stories and what you posting on your socials, and even the comments you leave, you got to be conscious. And yeah, that's pretty much the best way to go about it.
Because everyone can see everything you're doing, and it's not going to go away. I mean,
Yeah.
now people are getting, this cancel culture. People are getting canceled by one thing they said 10 years ago,
It's
and
it's it's, it's insane. I don't yeah, it's insane.
they could be a totally different person.
Come on, bro. Like if we were all held to the standards of who we were 10 years ago, like come on, man. Like, do we not know who Malcolm Little was before Malcolm X? Like it's two different guys, man.
Exactly. And then, the one last comment here, you said obviously these brands are obviously committing to these people too, because it's just now you're adding their whole community to your whole community. So it's like when you're a business trying to sell something and oh hey, you got 2 million followers. Well, that's 2 million people that may not know about my brand that now are gonna
Yep.
know about my brand because I'm sponsoring you. And it's all about revenue at the end of the day. So if that's going to increase my revenue opportunities in the business, then cool. We're going to try to look into this to see if it's going to be a good fit for us.
Yeah, and you also got to handle yourself like competition exists, right? It's no different than the same reason why the athlete is good at the game of basketball. You understand that it's other players that play this game. It's other people with 2 million followers. There's other people who might have 1 million followers, but they might be better suited because of the way they carry themselves. So if you just continue to live like competition exists, I think that state of paranoia will give you all the answers that you will need, and I think you'll be able to double down and just do what you need to do.
Yeah, we're just transitioning a different thought process of competition into something else. You're just taking what you did
Absolutely.
as an athlete to compete in the field. Now you're competing in social media, broadcasting, podcast, whatever it
Yep.
is. And you're just transitioning that, so it's still a healthy competition, and it's giving you a purpose and something to do. And that's what we need at the end of the day is have a purpose.
Absolutely. I like I said, I only played up to junior college basketball. I didn't play like big level D1 or anything like that. But still, the basic fundamentals and the things that I learned, like just playing sports, are still the same things that I carry and do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you be my witness. You told me what I needed to do the same day. It was already
Yep.
done. Not tomorrow, not the next day, not when I get a second. I hit you back 2 hours later. And that's just the mindset, man. Like if you know what you want, you know how to do it. Now it's just let's do the work.
Just carrying it out. But
Yep.
hey, really appreciate you coming on. I think this is going to be really great opportunity for people to listen to this and be able to understand kind of where we're coming at with this podcast. And this is just a whole nother realm that athletes can get into that I think is going to be very important for them to have the knowledge and information and to know as we kind of move forward in the next couple of years. But appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Hey, Sean, thank you for having me, man. I'm definitely looking forward to tapping into the podcast and watching some more episodes, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it, my guys. See you later.
No problem. Peace.